Boom! Boot this game up and you're already greeted with an insane amount of character. It's midnight, the music is blaring, the city is glowing, even the way the camera moves through the city from menu to menu. I completely forgot that this menu also changes based on what city that you last saved in. The neon lights of Tokyo, the west coast of San Diego, the night lights of Atlanta, and the snowy winter of Detroit. Literally oozing so much charm right out the gate. Remember when games actually cared about menus and UI? Even though you spend a mere second on menus, the fact that they're the first thing that you see when you boot the game up, a lot of developers poured their heart and soul into how these were displayed. This era of menu design represented just how artful games were instead of how monetizable they are now. Most games these days greet you with sales, DLC, or patch fixes, which are constant reminders that their games are unfinished, possibly broken, but still charging you more anyways. Back then though, this was a finished product. The best racing game ever made. Midnight Club 3 Dub Edition Remix. So type up the name DEEZNUTZ and load into San Diego. Boom! Again, we're greeted with such a charming fellow, Oscar. So much identity, so much character oozing in this game. Treats you like family, tunes your car, never overstays his welcome, talks you through tutorials, and this is actually something every single mechanic of their respective city will do, from the Tokyo one to the Detroit one to Atlanta's mechanic. Every word they say in each cutscene feels so perfectly delivered. It's honestly a gem of the time. It's like going back through a time machine. They all make comments about each opponent you're facing, they'll play different lines, and it's actually kind of incredible how much detail it had through honestly subtle interactions, because there's no actual storyline in this game and there's no like in-your-face cutscenes other than the few mechanic interactions, and I'm not gonna lie, those mechanics, they absolutely killed their performance and they further added character to the game. It was just enough, as I said earlier. It was not so much so to the point it overstayed the welcome. This is part of the reason I gave NFS Unbound a huge homie pass, because I think Rydell on his own boosted the game's cool factor by 20%. I'm sick of clout chasers, businessmen in tuxedos, secret spy agents, undercover police. Now f that. Just give me a wrench-turning, grease-covered, down-to-earth Alpha Chad G and not some poser wannabe, honest-to-God car enthusiast. Just some guy who loves working on cars. That is a character that is desperately missing from modern tuner games, and I'm glad Need for Speed brought one back in theirs. Onto the cars and customization though. Once you get all the intros out of the way, cutscenes and tutorials, you already know it's time to pick a starter car. You get a nice choice of 6 with a total of 87 cars to look forward to. And honestly, all these starter cars are great picks. I usually go with the Neon SRT4 TC, but this time we're going with the Monte Carlo, baby. And 87 cars was actually on the higher side of its time, considering that here's a list of all the other arcade racers and how many cars they had around that same era. So it's a healthy list. Yes, compared to Gran Turismo 4, it's completely dwarfed, but for how much customization this game allowed, come on, gotta give some points back. They also even have 16 bikes and choppers. I completely forgot how much they actually let you color and customize, because some of those choppers I looked at, and I was kind of scared to see them in this game, because I was like, oh no, they're gonna look like really weird relics of their time, because chopper culture has basically disappeared in the modern era and the power cruiser era has kind of picked back up. And as someone who owns a raked out power cruiser, a lot of what used to be cool back then is extremely wince-worthy now. Thankfully, it actually lets you customize some of those choppers and get rid of some of the chrome, black them out, change their wheels, make them look nice, and I was pleasant to say I enjoyed the choppers in the game so much to the point that I kind of miss choppers and their existence and wouldn't buy. I'm gonna buy one. Honestly, that's what this is really coming to. This game has made it where I want to buy a chopper, oh god. But back onto the cars though, the first time I ever played this game, it was actually the first time I ever saw Lamborghinis and Ferraris, as up until that point, I only played Gran Turismo 2 and 3. This was the third ever racing game I had played. I didn't even touch the Need for Speed franchise until 2010 Hot Pursuit, and then I would go back and play Pro Street, Underground 2, Underground 1 I didn't even play all the way till 2018. I played Underground 2 around 2011, and Most Wanted I played around 2012 to wash out the taste in my mouth of the 2012 version. The 05 version is still better, I'm standing by that. Having said that, that means Midnight Club 3 was my ultimate tuner game growing up, with all the customization and bells and whistles. And dare I say, even after having played the other customization tuner games, I'd still say Midnight Club 3, it's the better one. Yeah, I said it. I 100%ed this game, beat the main story 11 times, but for some reason my game would get a corrupt save each time I unlocked the final car from the US story mode, which was the Morcillogo. So after beating the game for the third time with the same result, I realized I should just never complete the final race, and instead just do Tokyo Challenge instead. There were so many save files I had as a kid that would just end in 99%, and you already know that drove me insane, but that dang mercy was a forbidden fruit to me. And this strange inability to get it in Midnight Club would result in the Mercy single-handedly being the most desirable Lambo in every consequent racing game I would play. I still don't have any idea why that specific instance occurred. Maybe it had something to do with the fact that I played it on a super old first generation PS2 that honestly wasn't that healthy. Maybe it was because the disc was scratched, or maybe because my memory card was probably weird or damaged. I don't know. Thankfully, I didn't miss it too much because with what the rest of the game had to offer, I still felt like a kid at the candy store. Even today, going back, I still feel like a kid at the candy store, looking at all the loading screen art and just seeing all the upcoming cars that it's teasing you that you've yet to unlock, because in this game, when you try to look at the not locked cars, it won't even give you their silhouette, it doesn't even load them up, meaning that the loading screen is oftentimes the first instance of you seeing a car that you have not yet unlocked, and it gave you something to look forward to, like, oh my goodness, I forgot how cool the loading art was and how it actually inspired childhood me, or rather teenage me, to literally recreate the cars from the loading screen in his garage, from the IS-300 to the McLaren F1. Speaking of the F1, I can't believe this was one of the cheaper exotics in the game, going for a paltry 250 grand, and 2005 was something else. When the Bugatti Veyron released, the McLaren F1 was dethroned of its title, and everyone kind of just treated it like old news. People generally thought the McLaren F1 was just going to depreciate into dust and be forgotten, while the Veyron would soar past the clouds and Bugatti would be super duper cool and hold their value forever. Yeah, that didn't age well. What did age well though is the insane freedom this game thrust you into. After playing Need for Speed Unbound and NFS Underground 2 and realizing just how good old games were and how the feeling of nostalgias weren't portrayed, it kinda got me thinking. I wonder how my teenage favorite game of all time holds up to the test of time, and to my surprise, the maps and events of Midnight Club 3 actually exceeded my teenage memories. You just pick your car, leave the garage, boom. No guidance, only suggestion. When I first played this game as a kid, I had no idea I was supposed to beat racers to progress the game. I would just go around doing generic red races to get money, and occasionally race the racers, and I would actually quit halfway through racing them, not realizing that it teleports you automatically to the next race when you select next race, you would have guessed. But I played the game at my own pace, and honestly that was a result of it not holding your hand really. And to be fair, a lot of old games don't really hold your hand, because gaming back then wasn't designed for casual so much. I would even just quit halfway through the US career and just start going to Tokyo mode long before I even unlocked Detroit. And in a way, I'm very glad I played Midnight Club 3 like that the first time around, because it makes the game feel like it just goes on forever. And after playing it for this video, I totally was just speedrunning through the game, because I'm just one quick Google search away from what I have to do next to progress. But teenage me, he didn't give a crap. He just drove around, enjoyed the game, and also didn't really care what was next and didn't exactly know what was to do next, until I think if you reach a certain amount of playtime without racing the racers, Oscar will literally hound you, where it finally triggers a special dialogue option where he'll go, "You have to beat racers to progress the game." And I would be like, oh. Then his next one will be like, "If you want to unlock more classes or parts, you have to beat the racers." And I was like, oh, okay, I finally get it. But I'm glad that the game lets you just drag it on, enjoy it, play it around, and listen to everything going on, the music, the sights, the sounds, and they don't really step in too much. And you could even start in Tokyo mode, and the mechanic there, if you reach a roadblock, he'll say, hey, go back stateside, unlock some more things there, get the cars you need, then come back to Tokyo. So it's kind of cool how the game nudges you slightly when you're progressing slowly, but it doesn't outright just lock your freedom and say you have to do this, the next mission is guaranteed gonna do this and force you to do that. It just gives you suggestions, and I really like that. And this style of gameplay combined with the style of events and how those events were made, it honestly represents a golden era of Rockstar. This game, whether people even realize it or not, made Grand Theft Auto what it is. Midnight Club helped put the auto in Grand Theft Auto. From flares that served as checkpoints, The arrows that point to objectives, the wacky vehicle physics, the cool power-ups, even the atmosphere, the characters, and even the way that the AI slam into you the same way that toxic squeakers do. Midnight Club needed to exist for Grand Theft Auto to be half as good as it is. Almost all of the above features have actually made it into the modern Grand Theft Auto 5 because of just how ahead of the curve they were. They didn't need to be changed, they still worked in a modern setting. And I'm gonna be honest with you, this is not an easy racing game. The checkpoint system, as beautiful and freedom-inspiring as it is, it's also very brutal. Unlike most modern racers that put checkpoints every 50 feet from each other to really make sure that you don't accidentally go off in the wrong direction, they're literally holding your hand like your mom at the supermarket. Hell nah, Midnight Club 3, they're your dad, and they're telling you they're going out for milk, and you gotta find them through that city. You're gonna shout through every single grocery store aisle today until you make your own way. All you get is an arrow on your side, and each checkpoint has a giant floating arrow that tells you where to go. There are no invisible walls stopping you from going the quote-unquote wrong direction, because you're allowed to forge your own path, even if that gives you a totally incorrect roundabout way of getting to it even longer, but it's okay. This game is just, it's fun, it works. Giant floating levitating signs and arrows pointing you the next turn you have to do. Like I said, all you get is a checkpoint and a general direction to the next checkpoint. And with how far apart those checkpoints are, sometimes that floating arrow will just point straight into a skyscraper or wall that you can't even drive through, but because the other checkpoint is that far apart, it's just obviously checking the direction, it's not checking the actual route. It's up to you to find that route. You can follow the AI even, thrust your own path. The city was yours. Every mistake made along the way, every wrong turn leading you away, it was all going to be okay. It's a learning experience, an absolute thrill, a total adventure. Restart this, restart that, each time you know more than the last. Even being a full-grown adult, I still felt like a baby in his diaper, constantly crapping my pants. Each time I slammed into a wall or went off the wrong ramp, I would just restart. Yet with each additional restart, I got better and better, and honestly, I began to accept the fact of not restarting, to just accept the winding roads, the sprawling alleyways, the towering skyscrapers, shattering through malls, and it eventually all started to make sense. I forced myself to learn each map, and these maps feel very diverse and honestly still pretty sizable. Honestly, even compared to modern games which have much larger maps, because these cities have density, they have detail, but most importantly, the way the game is constructed makes you grow with the city. It makes you love the city, embrace the city, all of it. The rotten down brick houses in Detroit, the narrow alleyways of Atlanta, the seaside beaches of San Diego, and absolutely jumping through giant shopping centers in Tokyo. The maps and events work together in this game. Instead of just being, oh, here's a checkpoint for the sake of getting to the next checkpoint, this game is literally giving you a tour and expecting you to take notes and actually remember how to navigate through the city. And each time that you actually remember just a little bit more than last, you find yourself no longer hovering behind the AI, but instead just confidently forging a path and just making things work, just linking up this turn with that turn, that shortcut with this one, and it feels like you're actually just crawling and street racing through a city. It's so cool. Another thing I was able to carry through with this game is Atlanta was actually the easiest city for me to navigate because it's actually based off the real life equivalent. A section of it is that is. It's basically south of Buckhead, north of Midtown. And that's also true of its successor game, Midnight Club LA, which also literally is just LA. So fun fact, if you didn't know that, Midnight Club games straight up use the actual real life city equivalents. It's true of the Tokyo part and San Diego part as well. Again, all sectioned off. It's a very small section of each city because of console limitations at the time. And it's almost a bit sad driving through Atlanta in this game, because as a kid it felt so magical and so cool. Like, it really did have that nightlife vibe. It felt like a city that never sleeps, and as an adult I can confirm it's a city that never sleeps. You'll hear VQ boys blowing your eardrums out at 4 in the morning still, but that part of the reason kind of drained it. Going back through this game, I felt myself wishing, man, I wish Atlanta could still seem as cool and magical as it does in this game, as it unfortunately did not become to me in real life. Alright, to get off this sad topic, I'm just going to quickly ask you to subscribe because I'm so close to 600,000. I mean, look at this, look at this, I'm right there, Please help. Also, I might play Midnight Club LA, so it's really good to subscribe and stick along for when I do review of that game and other Need for Speed old games. Screw it, I'm just going to play a bunch of old games. Just Of course, as I mentioned, the checkpoints and the events are difficult, but the difficulty of this game is also just due to the AI as well. They are brutal, complete savages. Your rivals will slam into you without mercy every single chance, and they will weaponize traffic against you. They'll push you into walls. It's extremely hectic, chaotic. The crunching of metal is constantly accompanying every single race. The rubber banding is both hilariously generous, but also downright disgusting. You'd think these criticisms would make me hate the game more, but there's just something so humorous about seeing a 1978 Monte Carlo keeping up with a McLaren F1. There are definitely times where it's frustrating where you see them pull away from you, no matter what lines you take. You're just seeing them do this little shimmy shuffle that AI rubber banding always does, where it starts doing that weird sliding thing. You know what I'm talking about if you played any racing game that has rubber banding. But it's when you kind of let go and turn your brain off, you realize, hey, maybe I shouldn't take the best lines. Maybe I shouldn't constantly use every single slipstream boost right away. What if I just accept the fact that I slam into walls, drift corners very dirtily, roll over from falls, or take the most dog crap lines? After doing that, I began to realize I was actually doing better. When you hyper focus and super duper try hard in this game, the AI will compensate and speed match you until the very end. This is also something that happens in Need for Speed Most Wanted 2005 and Need for Speed Underground 2, where the AI, especially in the higher difficulties, also brutally rubber band you, where you have to actually use meta cars, like high tier cars in that game. Like you could be 15 seconds ahead of them all race, then suddenly they just start turning on their super duper secret turbochargers and boom, zoom right past you. To kind of outsmart the game, you have to just purposely drive like an idiot, like miss launches at the start, then slipstream them, slam them into walls to help take corners better. Like screw braking in this game, by the way. I played this whole game without actively braking. Just slam the AI, that's your brakes. Let them drive off. In the first 30 seconds, if you drive extremely dog crap, the AI think they're racing against some 6-year-old, so they're like, okay, hold ourselves back. So for the rest of the race, they don't pull any secret stupid moves. So a lot of the coding that determines their behavior happens in the very early sections of the race. So if you go out the gate, do a perfect launch, follow racing lines, completely gap them, they suddenly just start getting nitrous from nowhere and constantly, and then doing that weird shimmy shuffle through corners where they just completely outgrip you without even having to drift. You just kind of have to debate them, you know, they think they can outsmart me, but I can see into the code, baby. I went to university for this. I forget it sometimes, but at times like this, I remember. Another huge advantage you have with the AI difficulty is through the employment of power-up. Muscle cars and choppers can roar. This pushes traffic out of the way and pushes AI out of the way, and you could even use it to slam the AI into walls when they're in midway through a turn, because it pushes them obviously in a forward direction. So if they're showing their horizontal side to you, you can actually pin them against the wall, and it's so satisfying. Choppers are still useful even endgame against hypercars because of the roar ability. Tuners and exotics can zone, and this allows them to basically slow down time and just do what Franklin does in GTA 5, and now you know where they got that ability from, because again, this is also a Rockstar game. Luxury and SUV vehicles can aggro, and this allows you to just destroy traffic, destroy any AI that gets in your way, destroy any cops that think they can put you down. And again, it's just so satisfying. You get these abilities rather generously at the start of the game, and you build charges for them each race rather generously, as long as you're following the instructions of how to build them. And this allows you to just completely level the playing fields of the AI. If you're playing it for the first time though, my best advice would just be to have fun. Turn your brain off like I did. Be carried away by the music, by the city lights, the amazing design. This game has it all: the characters, the customization, the atmosphere, the choppers and bikes. You want something? It had it. In 2005, this game was way ahead of its time, but usually this creates a double-edged sword effect. Games that are ahead of their time can sometimes age to become laughably behind. Games that age the best are the ones that ooze charm, class, style, and embody an era, almost like a time capsule. So no matter how dated the mechanics feel 15 years later, it doesn't change the fact that from beginning to end, you still had absolute fun, and that's the whole purpose of a video game, is to have fun. This is so cool, so stylish, so drippy, so ridiculously insane, so unapologetically mid-2000s. A total time chamber, an absolute masterpiece. I was scared that I was just looking at this game through rose-tinted glasses, absolutely terrified that if I ever played it, I'd hate it more than I'd love it. But the moment I booted up this game, heard the music, saw its menus, I let myself be carried away. By the time the gameplay started, I was already more than blown away by just how good this game still feels today. Don't play this game expecting some super realistic sim physics. Don't play this game expecting balanced vehicles or sensible AI. It's stupid. It's gonna be stupid, but it's gonna be stupid fun all the way through from then until the end. Triple S tier. SSS. This is the best racing game, if not the best game I've ever played in my entire life, and probably ever will play in my entire life until Rockstar finally decides to make Midnight Club 4. Thanks for watching. Just subscribe and I'll see y'all next video. I'm feeling maybe Most Wanted 05 or Underground 2. Let me know down below which one you want me to play.